Chapter 899. You're not a good soldier if you don't want to be a commander. You have to remember that your goal isn't just to be a soldier. You have to become a soldier who knows how to fight. You have to know how to fight and how to command soldiers to fight before you know what to do. Yi Qian's body was trembling. She stared at him fixedly as he spoke softly. She said, "I want to drink water. I want to drink water." She was very thirsty. She was so thirsty that she was panicking. She rushed to the side of the coffee table and covered the teacup with a lid. After stabilizing her trembling fingers, she grabbed the teacup tightly and drank the remaining cold water from last night in one gulp. She wanted the coolness of the water to suppress her panic. She didn't think that she would be the one to command soldiers in battle. She only knew that they were in danger. There was also K7. The mission couldn't end before K7 was confirmed to be out of danger. They couldn't give up on their comrade, so the mission had to continue. The cold water seemed to suppress the panic in her heart. Yi Qian took a deep breath and turned around. She looked at Xia Jinyuan coldly. "You said that K7 and G3 were in contact, but they didn't send their coordinates. So, you suspect that K7 contacted you last night to tell you that he was safe so that you wouldn't have to worry. You also suspect that he had the determination to sacrifice himself so that you wouldn't have to look for him. Comradeship could be so deep that they would exchange their lives for each other's. If K7 was really captured, she didn't doubt that he had the determination to sacrifice himself so that his comrade wouldn't come back to save him." K7's thin but handsome face flashed through her mind. He was a young soldier who didn't speak much, but every word he said was precious. Yi Qian clenched her fists. Her voice was bloodthirsty. "You have to go back and look for K7 after you finish the mission in Nan Province. This is something you have to do. I support your decision to go back. What I want to ask is, what about the other comrades? Do they also have to go back? But you guys are illegal now. What about your weapons? What about your weapons? The weapons that Ho Zi provided at most are guns. If it's life-saving grenades, you have to prepare them. You have to consider this. I mentioned G3 earlier. Since G3 is K7's contact, where is he now?" Yi Qian did not ask one question at a time. Instead, he asked one question after another, each one sharper than the last. "If you're in China, you can still look for Ho Zi. But if you're overseas, who will you look for? What if you don't have enough weapons? Through the black market?" Xia Jinyuan's nerves twitched when he was hit by her questions that hit the nail on the head. As expected of a comrade who had been on a mission together, her questions came one after another, and each of them hit the nail on the head. After thinking for a while, he answered seriously, "G3 is already rushing to the southern province. He's the only one who knows K7's situation the best. He's part of the mission to lure the snake out of its hole. G3 also needs weapons. When he arrives at the southern province, we have to take away the best weapons in Ho Zi's hands. Even if Ho Zi has a weapon, will it be enough? Our country forbids private collection of weapons. This is illegal. Even if Ho Zi has a weapon, how much will it be?" Yi Qian was practically chasing after her. Fortunately, she was relatively calm and didn't lose her composure. Yi Qian was the type of person who would calm down the more anxious she was. The calmer she was, the more she understood that this was not a small matter. The news that Xia Jinyuan brought back was too shocking. She wasn't involved before, so no matter how calm she was, she still seemed a little anxious. Chapter 900. Xia Jinyuan had been speaking to her calmly so that she could remain calm. Faced with her questioning, he smiled and said, "You don't have to worry about the weapons. Ho Zi has a hobby of collecting guns. He definitely has the best guns. We have the weapons from Southern Province. As for the weapons after we leave the country, we will find other ways to get them. We will only know if K7 needs to be rescued at 3 in the afternoon. The four of us may seem like a sheet of loose sand, but we are all in contact with each other. For example, G3 hasn't contacted me, which means that K7 hasn't contacted him either. If one person didn't contact them, it meant that none of them could contact them. No one wanted their comrades to be sacrificed, and no one wanted their comrades to be worried about them. Therefore, everyone would try to contact their comrades to reassure them. This method of contact was simple and straightforward. Everyone followed the simple rules of contact. They had all developed the habit of reporting their situation to their comrades at all times so that they wouldn't forget to contact them. What we should do now is to get rid of the snake that you lured to Southern Province. Then, you guys should hurry back to find K7. Yi Qian summarized everything in one sentence. The last sentence was the most important. They were comrades who had sworn to each other that they would live and die together and never give up. This was their oath, and it was engraved in their hearts forever. With G3 around, the two of them could take care of each other and return to the battlefield together. She felt a little more at ease. Yi Qian glanced at the wardrobe. She thought about how he couldn't wear the military uniform that she had brought back. Her eyes instantly turned red. She turned her head, and tears welled up in the corners of her eyes. That military uniform. I'll take care of it. When you come back, wear it again. Wear it openly. She was sad. It wasn't the kind of sadness that came from crying. It was the kind of sadness that came from suppressing her trembling heart. She was sad because of his identity. Xia Jinyuan smiled gently and hugged her with his right arm. His warm and broad palm gently stroked her arm to comfort her. Silly fox, it will be over soon. Everything will be fine. You have to believe in us, believe in our country. We will not give up on ourselves, and our country will not give up on us. A country can't stand without defense, and the people can't be at ease without soldiers. We are defense, but we are also soldiers. No one will abandon us as soldiers. His embrace still made her feel at ease. The faint scent of mint flowed into her body bit by bit. His presence and his scent were comforting her, allowing her to calm down. Yi Qian forced his tears back. He raised his head and looked at him with determination. I've always believed in you. I'll take care of the uniform for you. I just want to take good care of it for you. Because I was the one who brought it back from the airport. I was the one who cleaned it. Only I can keep it. She was so serious that Xia Jinyuan's heart palpitated. He had wanted to comfort her, but now he wanted to love her dearly. She was telling him that she had been waiting for him to come back, waiting for him to personally take back his military uniform from her. She wanted to see him safe with her own eyes, and not find out about his safety through other channels. He hugged her tightly in his arms and hid her completely in his wings with only the strength of his right arm. He used the strength in his arms to express his throbbing emotions. Okay, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to my current comrade and future girlfriend. Chapter 901. This was a promise made using the military uniform as a medium. He promised her that he would definitely come back and take back his military uniform and the epaulets that represented his military rank. He also promised Yi Qian that his identity would never change. A country could not be established without defense, and people could not be at ease without soldiers. He was both a defender and a soldier, so how could he give up his identity so easily? Xia Jinyuan let go of her hand and smiled. Since you helped me wash the clothes, I'll help you wash them too. But I'm not sure if the bloodstains on them can be washed off. It's unlikely that they can be washed off. I plan to take them back to school and see if I can get a new set or buy one. He would not make promises easily. Now that he had made a promise, he would definitely be able to do it. She believed that he would definitely be able to do it. Yi Jian smiled. Bloodstains are the hardest to clean. But if you can clean them, that would be the best. I will wash them very seriously. It was his first time washing someone's clothes, and it was his future girlfriend's school uniform, so he had to perform well. Letting Xia Jinyuan wash his clothes for him. Yi Qian thought about it for a while and felt that it was quite interesting. He did not wash the clothes immediately. Instead, he soaked them in water. After washing up, Xia Jinyuan sat beside Yi Qian for breakfast. After straightening out the matter, Yi Qian once again looked at the TV that had not been turned off. The 9 o'clock news had already started. However, it was all domestic news and had not been broadcasted to foreign news yet. After breakfast, Xia Jinyuan accompanied Yi Qian to watch the domestic news for a while before he got up and went to the bathroom. It was not easy to wash his future girlfriend's clothes, so he had to finish what he started. After soaking for 10 minutes, he could start washing them. After scrubbing hard, Xia Jinyuan looked at the light brown stains on the school uniform. He put it in the water and scrubbed it a few more times. He picked it up and looked at it again. There was no way to wash it clean, so he could only change it. Performance failure. There was a knock on the door. Ho Zi's assistant stood outside and respectfully handed the clothes to Xia Jinyuan. This is what you will wear today. When you come back, 10 sets of clothes will be prepared for you in the car. Brother Z is waiting for you in the underground parking lot. Ho Zi had already arrived at the parking lot. Xia Jinyuan could go straight to him after he changed his clothes. Thank you for your hard work. Xia Jinyuan took the clothes. After the man politely closed the door, he said to Yi Qian, the reason why I insisted on going out with you today is that after I change, you need to accompany me to Ho Zi's to pick out some goods. The goods are a little far away. I'm afraid you won't be able to go to the group training today. Then I won't go. Your matters here are more important. Choosing goods was choosing weapons. She would definitely go. When it was time for the 30-minute news broadcast, Yi Qian answered as he stared at the television screen. Yi Qian saw several dignitaries from the Middle East walking into the meeting in splendid attire. This was a religious exchange meeting. Xia Jinyuan, who had changed his clothes, came out and saw the news. His elegant and handsome face flashed with a trace of gloom. From the dark to the light, it seems like they are afraid. He suddenly said. Yi Qian's eyebrows twitched slightly. He looked at the television again. Religious exchange meeting? Did their beheading operation have anything to do with religion? The television screen flickered. Xia Jinyuan turned off the television. There shouldn't be any problems if it's on the domestic news. One of the people involved is a weapons expert. Chapter 902. The television screen flickered and Xia Jinyuan switched it off. He said calmly, there shouldn't be any problems if it's on the national news. One of them is a weapons expert. A weapons expert? A religious exchange meeting? Since it's a religious exchange meeting, the people who appear should be related to religion. Why is there a weapons expert? When religion and weapons are involved, it loses the meaning of religion and becomes a little bloody. Operation Decapitation? They were carrying out Operation Decapitation. A religious exchange meeting, a weapons expert. Yi Qian held his breath. This time, the target of the operation was someone from the religious exchange meeting. What they had taken care of was a person who had been secretly causing trouble for the Chinese side under the pretext of religious exchange. Such a person seemed sanctimonious, like a savior who promoted religion, but in fact he was the real creator of blood and violence. Xia Jinyuan looked at the expression on her little face and understood. It seemed that his little fox knew who the decapitation leader was. As he buttoned his suit, his thin lips curled up slightly as he brought up a past incident. In the no man's land, there was an active soldier in the mercenary group that we dealt with together. This active soldier followed the person who used the name of religious exchange to enter Tibet. He came from China's borders as a believer and stole military intelligence from China's borders. He secretly spread bad ideas and tried to cause chaos at China's borders. Little fox, our country is at war everywhere. It seems peaceful, but there are many countries eyeing our country covetously. They want to take the opportunity to stir up trouble and weaken our country's strength to achieve their unspeakable goals. What we need to do is to eliminate these people who are secretly stirring up trouble. While warning other countries, we also need to maintain the stability of our country's borders. They were soldiers, and the duty of soldiers was to protect the country's security, the country's borders, the stability of the government, and the stability of the society. Once there was an abnormal situation that threatened the peace of the country, they would draw their swords. Yi Qian listened quietly. When he looked up, he saw Xia Jinyuan in a black suit standing in front of him. In the blink of an eye, he had changed from a powerful soldier to a calm and reserved businessman. He pursed his lips and smiled. Captain Xia, you're a natural. Very suitable. Not bad. Xia Jinyuan adjusted his tie and his thin lips curled up slightly. In an instant, there was a noble and distinguished aura between his eyebrows. How is it? Do I look more like it now? It wasn't that. Xia Jinyuan was now a mature and steady business elite who exuded a distinguished aura. No matter how he disguised himself, he was always the noble Xia Jinyuan who stood at the top of the world. Yi Jian nodded with a smile. You look alike. No one would be able to tell that Captain Xia is actually a soldier. Even if he came to her side with danger, he was still a soldier that she admired. Danger is always present. It depends on how you face. Regardless of whether you are relaxed or worried, the danger will never disappear automatically. And I choose to face it. Chapter 903. The danger is right there. The first thing we should think of is to solve it, not worry. Little Fox, as a Special Forces soldier, even if you are just training, danger still exists. We have to face unexpected situations at all times. Being calm and collected is our attitude when facing them. There is no fear, no retreat, only forward. This is the mission and responsibility of a soldier. Yi Qian, you have to remember that we are always in danger. There is never a way out. The only way is to face it and solve it. Complete it. Do it without hesitation. Xia Jinyuan and Yi Qian's relationship was not just that of lovers. He would also tell Yi Qian what a soldier should be like. He would clearly tell Yi Qian all the dangers and difficulties that Yi Qian faced. He would not allow Yi Qian to have any thoughts of running away. He would be her closest comrade in the future. Uncle Zhen and Principal Chen could teach Yi Qian all the skills she needed to know, as well as how to be a person, how to make decisions in the military, and how to be strong in handling matters. Then, Xia Jinyuan would be the one who could truly get close to Yi Qian's heart. He would hold Yi Qian's hand tightly at any time and tell her that he was a soldier. A soldier who had no way out once he put on the military uniform. Yi Qian was shocked when she heard that. He was teaching her, and when he saw that she had a problem, he immediately pointed it out sternly and told her clearly what she should do. That's right, he was right. No matter what attitude you use to face danger, the danger will always be there. It doesn't matter if you are afraid or timid, it won't go away. It's there, and you have to face it and solve it. There is no way out once you put on the military uniform, because you are a soldier. Yi Qian's clear eyes looked at the man who had repeatedly pointed out her mistakes. She saw the coldness in his eyes and also saw the hope he had for her. She nodded and said, I understand. I will always remember it. Yi Qian was a girl who understood everything easily. Xia Jinyuan had said it so clearly, so naturally, she could see and think clearly. Good girl, you're the best in my heart. You always will be. She was so smart and hardworking. No matter when, she could accept his criticism and criticism. She trusted him without any conditions. He would not let such a girl walk the path of ordinary. He would definitely hold her hand tightly and face the flames of war together. He needed a comrade like her, a girlfriend like her, and she needed a comrade like him, a boyfriend like him. Xia Jinyuan and Yi Qian were a circle that no one could separate. At 9:05 a.m., the students who stayed in the hotel last night woke up one after another. Yi Qian and Xia Jinyuan walked out of their rooms. Wang Jin, who slept on the same floor as them, yawned and opened the door. I'm not eating breakfast. I have to go to my grandma's house for lunch. You guys go ahead. As Wang Jin spoke, he saw two figures walking in front of him. He did not immediately recognize them, but said to the boy who was staying with him, there's a guy and a girl in front. I bet the guy is handsome and the girl is beautiful. Just looking at their backs makes me think they look good. Although Wang Jin lowered his voice, it was not low enough for Xia Jinyuan and Yi Qian. They're seniors from grade 3. Let's hurry up. Yi Qian hurriedly tugged on Xia Jinyuan's sleeve and walked even faster. Luckily, she was wearing a casual dress. If she was wearing a tight-fitting dress, her skirt would have been torn apart by her large strides. Chapter 904. Xia Jinyuan was a little worried. When would he be able to reveal his secret identity? He had no choice. He definitely couldn't reveal it now. It was better to avoid people's eyes and ears. When Xia Jinyuan saw that she was walking faster than a rabbit, a light flashed across his eyes and he revealed a mischievous smile. He reached out and put his arm around Yi Qian's shoulder. Just as she was about to scream in fright, Xia Jinyuan chuckled and said, "You're more likely to be discovered if you walk alone. Now you can lower your head and hide your face in my arms. It'll be safer." Yiqian was so scared that her body froze. She raised her head and glared at him. "Xia Jinyuan, you. Shoo. Don't talk, little fox. There are 3 boys wearing the uniform of the provincial first high school coming over." Xia Jinyuan pulled Yiqian deeper into his arms so that her delicate face was pressed against his chest. Only her small and delicate earlobes could be seen. "Then I'll wait for you at the bookstore in the afternoon. You two shouldn't oversleep." The girls walked over and stood on Xia Jinyuan's left side as they talked and laughed. As Yiqian listened to their laughter, she held her breath and cursed in her heart, "Xia Jinyuan is a bastard." However, she couldn't help but admit that if he didn't hug her like this, he would definitely be discovered by the seniors. However, this combination was very strange. The girl hid her head completely in the man's arms, even when they entered the elevator. It was so strange that the seniors who didn't pay much attention to them stole glances at them. After glancing at them, the 3 students simultaneously retracted their gazes. Then, the 3 of them secretly looked at each other and all of them pursed their lips and smiled embarrassedly. This guy was even more handsome than Yang Heng. However, he was a little cold, so they didn't dare to look at him for too long. In the elevator, Yiqian's hands were tightly gripping onto Xia Jinyuan's clothes. Wang Jin, who was walking slowly upstairs, suddenly turned back after passing a row of rooms. He stared at the room number that he saw the girl and the guy walk out of. Wasn't this Yiqian's room? That man and woman had walked out of Yiqian's room. Holy shit! Was that woman's back view Yiqian? Who was that man? It couldn't be Yang Heng. Yang Heng was tall, but he wasn't as tall as the man just now. The most important thing was his temperament. Yang Heng didn't have the temperament of the man just now. *CK. Yang Heng, you have a love rival. Your love rival even came to your aunt's hotel to kidnap Yiqian. The other party is very strong. You're in big trouble. I have to find Yang Heng. Something big has happened. Wang Jin threw his backpack and ran toward the elevator. As a brother, he had to tell Yang Heng about it. Wang Jin, who needed to go home immediately, ran straight to the restaurant and found Yang Heng. He said, "You have a love rival." "Love rival? What nonsense are you talking about?" Yang Heng had already finished his breakfast. Being blocked by Wang Jin, Yang Heng laughed and patted his friend's shoulder. Even though Wang Jin had purposely come to tell him about Yiqian, Yang Heng's expression was obviously gloating. Yang Heng laughed and said, "Brother, you've really misjudged her. I don't have any feelings for Yiqian, unlike you guys who were green with envy when she got into the car." Wang Jin didn't believe him. He looked at him with a look that said, "Stop pretending. Who would believe that you don't like Yiqian? We want to pursue her, but we don't have the ability to do it. We don't dare." "It's not that I don't dare, but I think it's better to be friends with Yiqian. As for the strong love rival you mentioned, if he really exists, then he is indeed a good match for Yiqian." Chapter 905. After a while, Wang Jin glared at him and said, "Damn, you really don't have any ideas." "Not at all. You guys are just making a fuss." Yang Heng smiled. His clean and handsome face did not have a trace of abnormality. "All right, hurry up and eat breakfast. I have to go home with my mom." His cousin was coming back to China and would be having lunch at his house, so he had to go home to prepare. As for Yiqian, Wang Jin was sure he was not mistaken. He had looked for her this morning and did not see anyone in her room. Wang Jin saw that Yang Heng really did not care and felt that it was meaningless. Sigh, to think that he ran all the way here to snitch. He waved his hand and said weakly, all right, I won't send you off. Damn, I'm hungry from running. Let's eat something before we go." Yiqian's dress was quite nice. Even her back was beautiful. It's a pity you didn't see it. The waiter in the restaurant was clearing up breakfast. Yang Heng pointed and reminded him kindly, "You can eat a few pieces of cake to fill your stomach. Otherwise, you can go out and eat some buns." Not only did he see Yiqian in the dress, but he also saw how she looked in it. The ethnic dress on her was stunning and beautiful. Yi Qian was an orphan, a girl who grew up in the army. It was not strange for anyone to be around her. Therefore, there was no need to find it strange. Wang Jin ran into the restaurant and suddenly ran out to chase after Yang Heng. Let me ask you something. Last night, I told Yi Qian that Yao Jing was her rival. She said something that I didn't understand at all. She said to ask you, you must know. He repeated what Yi Qian said last night. If it's because of Yang Heng, she is not my rival. If it's not because of Yang Heng, she is indeed a rival. He asked Yang Heng with a face full of curiosity, do you understand? Yang Heng understood and chuckled. She meant that if she were to pursue me, Yao Jing is not her rival at all. I would choose her directly. If she doesn't pursue me, Yao Jing will be her rival in life. Do you understand? Damn. So that's what it meant. Wang Jin rubbed his face and chuckled as he asked him, so when you said that Yi Qian wanted to pursue you, did you really agree? Didn't you just say that there was a man with a very strong aura who was more powerful than me who left Yi Qian without saying a word? What you are thinking of simply does not exist. Yang Heng patted his classmate's head, who was always slow to react. He carried his backpack and gave Wang Jin a look that said, be smart. Then he left handsomely. Heng over here. When Mother Yang saw her son coming over, she elegantly raised her hand to signal him to speed up. Your aunt has already picked up Anqi. We have to go home quickly. Also, have you spoken to Xiao Yi? Invite her over for dinner tonight. Yesterday, she had said that she would invite her home for lunch this afternoon. Now that she had to change the time, she had to go and inform her. Yang Heng opened the car door and smiled. Mom, I have something to do on Saturday. Let's talk about it next time. You child, I clearly said that I would invite her for lunch last night. Now that your cousin went back on her words, you still... Mother Yang said as she bent over to get into the car. Her expression was so serious that Yang Heng felt helpless. Mom, Yi Qian has her own things to do. She already said that it's fine. Why are you still thinking about it? Mother Yang heard her son's helplessness. She raised her hand and patted his head. What do you know? Mom and Dad asked you to invite Yi Qian home for lunch because they have something to do. Chapter 906. Thinking about what happened last night, Mother Yang's face turned a bit cold. Your Uncle Yao's family left last night with resentment. Also, you heard the words that little girl Jingle shouted afterwards. I still get angry when I think about it. Jing is so stubborn. Little Yi is alone and has no elders to support her. This child's character is so pure that it makes people feel sorry for her. I'm thinking of acknowledging her as my goddaughter and finding you a younger sister. Yang Heng was stunned. Goddaughter? Find me a younger sister? Mom, why were you so agitated last night? Didn't my dad comfort you last night? Goddaughter? You have to get Yi Qian's approval first. Yang Heng couldn't help but laugh. His mother was really funny sometimes. What era was this? Goddaughter? How did she think of that? Mother Yang laughed and scolded. You child, your dad also thinks that my idea is good. But are you not happy? Fine, if you're not happy, I won't mention it. It's not that I'm not happy. Having a younger sister like her is quite impressive. Yang Heng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He thought about it seriously. It was not bad. Being a friend was not as good as being a sister. Why don't I ask on Monday? I still have to get Yi Qian's approval. When Uncle Yao and his family know about it, they will restrain themselves. The mother and son were seriously considering it in the car. A black car drove out of the underground garage and headed towards the suburbs. We don't have a lot of goods. They are all light weapons. I don't think you can take the cannons with you. We have enough pistols and bullets. In the car, Ho Zi didn't avoid the topic just because Yi Qian was there. Family Xia even brought the little girl along. To be honest, he was thinking that he wasn't afraid that someone would find trouble with the little girl. After thinking about it, he felt that he was worrying too much. Young Master Xia wasn't worried and the little girl didn't look scared at all. It was obvious that they weren't afraid of trouble at all. Since they were both bold and fearless, what else did he have to worry about? He could avoid the topic. Xia Jinyuan trusted Ho Zi's arrangements. He said calmly, Brother Z, You can make the arrangements. Southern Province is your territory. I don't need to worry about anything. I really can't worry about you. You only said that you killed someone overseas. I don't know what kind of person you killed. Ho Zi had a smile on his face the entire time, and his voice no longer had the coldness that could not be hidden from before, but carried a hint of lightness. Just now, I told a few brothers in the underworld to pay attention to anything. I've also sent people to the hotel. If anyone sneaks in, we'll know immediately. Not. He came and attacked. It's not like he's a monster with only one head. But the other party is here to take your lives. Aren't you afraid? He didn't believe that a little girl could be so calm that she wasn't afraid of death. Yi Qian wasn't afraid at all. She had been reborn. She already knew what death felt like. What was there to be afraid of? Now, she wasn't afraid that someone would come looking for her. She was afraid that no one would come looking for her. Her eyes gradually darkened and turned cold. A murderous aura appeared in her dark eyes. She maintained her calm smile and said slowly, "What's there to be afraid of? He wants to kill me. I want to kill him too. I'll kill the person who wants to kill me first. There's nothing to be afraid of." Chapter 907. His words were so domineering and confident. Even Ho Zi, who was in the underworld, was stunned by his words. Good boy, he was able to say such responsible and confident words at such a young age. It was true that one should not question a hero's background, and one should not bully the young. After a while, Ho Zi couldn't help but applaud. Old Six, you're very lucky to be able to say such words. Zigu supports your decision. Even if you're young, you have to act in advance. Kill the person who wants to kill me in advance. That was what he thought back then, and that was how he got to where he was today. You're not afraid of anyone, but you're afraid of yourself. You're the one who destroyed your own hope and lost your own life. It was a bit far from the Venus Hotel to the place where the goods were hidden. It took more than 2 hours to drive. The place where the goods were hidden was a scenic area developed by Ho Zi, the Dalong Mountain Scenic Area. This was a scenic area developed by Ho Zi and the government in cooperation. It was filled with the latest foreign resources and had everything you wanted to do. There was also a very large golf course and a shooting range. Just these 2 projects alone were enough to attract countless rich people to come and visit. At the end of October, the maple leaves on Dalong Mountain were all red. There were also many tourists who came to enjoy the scenery. Yi Qian sat in the car and also enjoyed the beautiful scenery along the way. Ho Zi's personal phone calls were very few. There were only 2 calls in 2 hours. One of them happened to be someone who invited him to play golf at Dalong Mountain. The other party even brought his own client. You 2 go back to the villa and wait for me. This person has some background in the underworld in the north. I'll come over after I say hello. The car entered the scenic area at around 11 o'clock in the afternoon. Ho Zi gave a few instructions to the driver before getting out of the car and leaving. On the way, Xia Jinyuan spoke very little. Yi Qian noticed that his hand was in his trouser pocket. He was holding his phone and waiting for his comrade to call. He was waiting patiently. There was no trace of impatience on his handsome face. His gaze was as calm as a city in the sky. Occasionally, he would even raise his eyes to look at the beautiful scenery and point it out to her. From this, Yi Jianjian could see the distance between him and her. The car drove all the way to the villa's parking lot. Xia Jinyuan did not ask the chauffeur to get out of the car and open the door. Instead, he pulled Yi Qian out of the car and said, "You go in first. I'll come over later." He gently squeezed Yi Qian's palm, indicating for Yi Qian to be more careful. Although Ho Zi was someone he trusted, Yi Qian was a comrade he trusted enough to put his life in her hands. After the early autumn, the weather became cooler day by day. When they reached the mountains, the temperature dropped even lower. Yi Qian got out of the car in a dress. The wind in the mountains blew, and she couldn't help but shrink her shoulders slightly. "Put on your clothes and go in quickly." Xia Jinyuan's suit jacket was draped over Yi Qian's shoulders. Under the faint sunlight, the man who was looking down at her had exquisite facial features. When the sunlight shone on his face, it made her feel at ease. Yi Qian adjusted her clothes and followed the chauffeur into the villa. The signal in the mountains was not very good. Xia Jinyuan walked for about a kilometer before he stopped. Looking at the pitiful 3 bars of signal on his phone, Xia Jinyuan smiled slightly. His slender fingers quickly typed a set of numbers and sent it out without any punctuation. The mountain road was not easy to drive on, and the car they were in was quite old. However, the G3 never doubted that this car, which came from a small county, would be scrapped. Chapter 908. The phone in his trouser pocket vibrated slightly. As it was shaking, G3 turned his body and took out his phone. He took a good look at it. It was a set of numbers. He could not look at it in reverse. The first set of numbers was the geographical coordinates of the city limits. The second set was the district coordinates. The third set was the county coordinates, and the fourth set was the specific coordinates. After reading the message, G3 immediately erased the message and restored the phone to the factory settings. This was the most direct and safest way. It was simple and fast. If they still didn't receive any news from K7 after 3 o'clock, he and Xia Jinyuan would meet up and get rid of the snake that followed them into Nan province. Then, they would return to the battlefield to find their comrades. Whether they were alive or dead, they had to find their comrades. Never leave, never abandon, never give up. G3, who was wearing a straw hat, covered his face with it and closed his eyes to rest. There was still more than an hour before they arrived at Nan province. He could use this time to take a good rest. At this time, Hou Zi led Xia Jinyuan and Yi Qian to his weapon collection room. The entire room was filled with wooden display cabinets. It looked like a jewelry store. All the handguns were placed one by one on the counter. They were in a mess, as if no one had maintained them for a long time. Xia Jinyuan looked around and said to Hou Zi, "Brother Zi, this is a small handgun arsenal. If something big happens one day, this is the first place you have to deal with." "I've already considered this point. That's why I used wood to make all the cabinets. If something really happens in the future, I'll burn it down." Hou Zi replied with a natural expression. Her red phoenix eyes, which were so beautiful that they looked like they were drawn by a painter bit by bit, revealed a trace of coldness that seeped into her bones. A dangerous person who possesses the most dangerous thing is protection. It is also the most direct evidence of a crime. I have a hobby of collecting guns. I know that it's forbidden in our country. After I get them back through some means, I just put them on display. There was no one around Hou Zi. Even his personal bodyguards were outside the villa, which showed how cautious he was when it came to such matters. Hou Zi picked up a shotgun and smiled at Yi Qian. "It has a 6-round capacity. Doesn't it look like a shotgun?" He didn't want to continue on this topic. Xia Jinyuan didn't talk about it anymore. He turned around and picked out a gun for himself. This gun used to be called a shotgun or a musket. Now, it's sometimes called a shotgun. Brother Zi, it's not about whether it looks like a shotgun or not. This is a 1995 Benelli M1. Yi Jian took the shotgun made by the Benelli company from his hand and gently stroked the barrel with her finger. Under Hou Zi's surprised expression, she said indifferently, "This is developed for the military and the police. It uses the automatic recoil mechanism. This series of guns uses aluminum alloy magazines, which are light, sturdy, and durable." Unfortunately, it wasn't suitable for him and Xia Jinyuan. It had a 6-round capacity. Even if it had great lethality, it wasn't convenient to carry around. Hou Zi's impression of Yi Qian changed drastically. "You even know about this? Yi Qian, are you really just a high school student? Are you really not hiding your age? Are you sure you're a student?" While Yi Qian was talking, Xia Jinyuan picked up a Colt M200 pistol. Chapter 909. The Colt M2000 pistol fired 9mm labellum bullets. The gun was only 195 millimeters and weighed only 0.82 kilograms. However, the magazine had a capacity of 15 bullets and an effective range of 50 meters. Yi Qian put the shotgun back in its original position and glanced at the pistol he had picked. His gaze swept over all the guns and locked onto the Colt M2000 pistol. There are 3 in total. You can pick all of them. She walked to the display cabinet and picked up the other 2 Colt M2000 pistols from 2 different places. The shooting accuracy is very good. The power index is also very high. The ergonomics index is also not bad. You can bring all 3. Isn't that right, Brother Z? She asked him if he was right after she finished picking. Ho Z raised his eyebrows and looked at the 2 pistols she had picked up in just a few seconds. He looked at Yiqian thoughtfully and smiled. You know more about guns than I do. If you say it's right, then it's definitely right. Then we won't hold back. Also, Brother Z, you separated the guns and bullets. Where do you keep the magazines? Yiqian waved the 2 Colt M2000 pistols in his hands. There was a faint sharpness on his beautiful face. When he held the pistols, even his aura changed from when he was carrying a backpack. When he saw Yiqian holding the pistols, Ho Zi, the boss of the underworld, couldn't help but think to himself, what kind of girl did Xia Jinyuan find? Why is she so strange that it makes me feel a little guilty? There were no less than 200 guns in his small weapons room. He liked to collect them. After he collected them, he would play with them for a while and then put them aside. After a long time, he didn't even know where the pistols were kept. He also couldn't remember if he kept one or a few of the same type of guns. But this girl just glanced at them and picked up the 2 Colt M2000 pistols as if she knew where they were and could take them out with just a stretch of her hand. When Yi said that she had a good memory, he was also very surprised. However, it was far from being surprised to the point where he felt guilty. There were only 2 people who had made Ho Zi feel guilty. The first one was the person who had single-handedly raised him to where he was today and was now enjoying his retirement on a small island in the Atlantic Ocean. The second one was Xia Jinyuan's girlfriend. Pull out the magazines from the lower compartment. They're all inside. Look for them yourselves. Ho Zi continued to observe Yiqian. He wanted to see how good her memory was. He separated the magazine from the gun to prevent anyone from breaking into his collection room. Yiqian tried pulling at the bottom of the wooden cabinet with both hands. After confirming it, he pulled harder. A drawer-like compartment was pulled out. Rows upon rows of magazines of various sizes were neatly placed in the drawer with a black velvet cushion. Compared to the guns that were casually placed on the wooden cabinet, the magazines were much neater. Go ahead and choose. After you're done, this place will cease to exist. Ho Zi opened the other 3 compartments together. There were magazines and bullets. Guns need bullets. The bullets in the magazines won't be enough. You can choose the bullets that you can use. He said that this place would cease to exist after you're done choosing. Yiqian's heart skipped a beat. She instinctively looked at Xia Jinyuan. Xia Jinyuan only smiled at her. Do you see the magazines? Brother Z is right. Guns need bullets. Chapter 9-10. So this is why he brought me and Little Fox here. Madam Xia Yi, it seems like your plan is working. This man who can do whatever he wants in the underworld is cutting off his own path of retreat. Seeing the smile on his face, Yiqian felt a lot more at ease. This meant that before Ho Zi brought them in, he had already made up his mind to destroy everything. This made her feel at ease. No wonder Xia Jinyuan said, if something big happens one day, this is the first place you have to get rid of. In fact, he was telling Ho Zi that this place had to be destroyed. Ho Zi really had the guts to destroy this place. However, Yiqian felt that Ho Zi seemed to be doing something very important. He had started to destroy some evidence that could directly incriminate him, and the gun collection room was the first evidence he wanted to destroy. As for why, Yiqian, who had never been interested in other people's private affairs, had no way of knowing why Ho Zi wanted to destroy this place. There were 3 Colt M2000 pistols in his hands, so he needed 3 magazines. Yiqian scanned through the 3 rows of magazines, picked up the magazines one by one in front of Ho Zi, and threw them to Xia Jinyuan. Colt M2000 pistol magazine, capacity 15 rounds, loaded 15 rounds. She was very fast. Ho Zi, who had been paying attention to her, saw that her gaze swept across the rows of magazines, and she did not even look for them. She was even more familiar with the exact location of the magazines than he was. He was convinced, he was really convinced. Xia Jinyuan caught the 3 magazines that were thrown to him in succession and put them down one by one. He did not even need to check carefully, he just took them and loaded them. His expression was full of trust in her. Hou Zi saw this kind of trust in Xia Jinyuan, and his eyes darkened. He could vaguely see the attitude that Xia Jinyuan had towards relationships. He did not hide it, he was not afraid, he was only going to advance and retreat together. Now, the trust between them was like a lock, locking their every word and action, making it impossible for others to interrupt. Brother Z's collection of guns is very tasteful. These 2 are magazines for the M9, and these 2 are magazines for the Desert Eagle. There's a total of 7 pistols, and that's about it. Yi Qian had picked out the best of the best, especially the Desert Eagle, which was the king of pistols. If they really destroyed this place, it was better to take out the good guns and let Xia Jinyuan and the others use them properly. Hou Zi did not care anymore. He was only responsible for bringing the couple in. The couple was more familiar with everything else than he was. The magazines she picked out were all good magazines. Among the rows of magazines, she picked out the good ones in less than 3 minutes. What else did he need to care about? There's no dagger here. I'll get one for self-defense when the time comes. Just pick a few pistols. The rest of the guns are inconvenient to carry and can be easily recognized. Xia Jinyuan did not say much during the whole process. Yi Qian did all the work. After disassembling the guns, she could even reassemble them from a pile of scattered gun parts. Her eyes and hands were so sharp that from the time she picked up the handle to the time she finished assembling the gun, she did not even have to think about whether the parts in her hand were correct or not. This was because she could accurately pick out the correct gun parts from a pile of parts. He felt ashamed of his own inferiority when it came to such memorizing skills. What Hou Zi saw now was only the tip of the iceberg of Yi Qian. Just this side of him was enough to make him gasp in amazement. Chapter 9-11. Hou Zi had only seen the tip of Yi Qian's iceberg. What she didn't know was that after Yi Qian entered the collection room and scanned the entire display table, her brain was like a mobile high-speed computer, storing the models and positions of all the guns. You take these guns. These 2 are enough for me. After picking out the guns for Xia Jinyuan, Yi Qian picked up 2 HKP-7M8 pistols for himself. These pistols used 9mm parabellum bullets, had 8 and 13 rounds, magazines, and had an effective range of 50 meters. Yi Qian picked this pistol because it had a low recoil and was so safe that it could be carried safely even if the magazine was loaded. If the magazine was loaded, it was easy to misfire, but this pistol wouldn't. Therefore, it could be quickly fired when necessary and could immediately remove the safety and fire. After picking out the guns and magazines, Yi Qian had finally found all the weapons they needed. There were a total of 9 guns and bullets. Xia Jinyuan had gained a lot. Holding Yi Qian's hand, they left the small gun storage room. Hou Zi was the last to leave. Before turning off the lights, he glanced at the collection room where the first gun was placed 15 years ago. After a flash of coldness in his eyes, he pressed the switch and turned to leave. He walked quickly without a trace of hesitation. An underground gun storage room that would no longer exist after tonight. Since he had already decided to abandon it, he wouldn't hesitate anymore. It had only been 10 minutes since they entered the basement and came out. The staff of the attraction had just delivered today's lunch to the entrance of the villa. Xia Jinyuan pushed the fridge to block the entrance to the basement. His eyes fell on a yellow hose pipe. This pipe had appeared by the gun counter before. It was a natural gas pipe. Hou Zi had laid the natural gas pipe in the basement. If there was an accident, it was indeed very suitable to blow up the entire gun storage room. Moreover, it was under the kitchen. When the time came, it could be said that a natural gas leak caused the explosion. Let's eat. After lunch, let's go back to the city. Hou Zi invited the 2 of them to sit at the dining table. He personally opened a bottle of red wine and poured a glass for Yi Qian. Yi Qian, Hou Zi, admire you. She was even more ruthless and resourceful than the 17-year-old Hou Zi when he was young. He couldn't admire her. She had single-handedly challenged more than 10 hooligans and crippled 7 of them. Tonight, she had talked about guns as she opened her mouth. This 17-year-old girl had shown him that there was always someone better than her. Yi Jian pursed her lips and smiled. She was like a flower that was quietly blooming. There was no lethality in her smile at all. Brother Z, Miao Zhan, I'm indeed a student. I'm a second-year high school student. What I know is just from him. He glanced at Xia Jinyuan, who had started eating gracefully, and continued with a smile, I learned from him. That's all I know. Houzi laughed. The girl was quite wary of him. He said to Xia Jinyuan, who acted as if it had nothing to do with him, you're really lucky to have such a good girl. Come, Brother Z, I'll toast you for your unique taste. Also, to your reminder. Thank you. You're welcome. Xia Jinyuan picked up his glass and lightly clinked it with Houzi's. I wish Brother Z's wishes come true. Houzi was overjoyed. Old Six's words were always pleasant to hear. Now, he wished Old Six's wishes come true. This matter must succeed. Cooperating with this territory was for no other reason than to prevent the woman he loved from being married to another man. Houzi, who was sitting at the dining table, was talking cheerfully and wittily. There was no trace of ruthlessness in his expression. Although he occasionally spoke with the arrogance of a superior, his words were always humorous and witty. Unconsciously, one would be deeply attracted to his conversation. Chapter 9:12. Xia Jinyuan's trust in Houzi could also be seen at the dining table. After everything was over, he directly told him that he would bring Yi Qian here to enjoy the scenery of Mount Dalong and would leave a little later. Indeed, you can leave a little later. The maple leaves on the mountain are all red. There are a lot of tourists at this time of year. You can enter from the small path behind the villa. You don't have to squeeze with the tourists. This was a tourist area developed by Houzi and the government. When it was being developed, he said that he needed a private mountain path. Thus, when he was designing the entire area, he paid a little more money to leave such a path. There was a private mountain road in the tourist area. Just by hearing about it, one could tell that it was extraordinary. Xia Jinyuan knew about Houzi's financial resources, so he did not look surprised at all. After thanking him, he was led by Houzi's bodyguard into Mount Dalong from the back of the villa. The bodyguard was only responsible for escorting them to the entrance. After watching them leave, he turned around and reported back. G3 will come to Mount Dalong. We will meet up with him later. After walking for a while, Xia Jinyuan said to Yi Qian in a low voice, when the time comes, cover for him and drive away directly. Yi Qian nodded slightly. He knew that Xia Jinyuan did not want Houzi's people to discover G3. Soldiers were soldiers and bandits were bandits. Regardless of his relationship with Houzi, the safety of his comrades was the most important thing. When G3 arrived at Mount Dalong, they would begin to deliberately reveal their whereabouts on Nanshan Hill. They would attract all the danger to themselves until the danger was over. After the matter in Southern Province was settled, they would set off directly from here and appear on the soil of another country as illegal mercenaries to search for their missing comrades. There were tens of thousands of maple trees on Mount Dalong. When Southern Province was promoting tourism, they would film the scenery of Mount Dalong all year round. However, Houzi had left a private path for them to enjoy the best scenery. There were mountains, rivers, and scenery. Yi Qian, who was going to visit Mount Dalong in the future, smiled and said to Xia Jinyuan, looks like Brother Z invested a lot here. Otherwise, the government would not have allowed him to leave a private mountain path. That's not the case. Sometimes, this road is also used by provincial leaders to receive VIPs and to climb the mountain for sightseeing. Xia Jinyuan walked a few steps ahead, occasionally stopping to wait for Yi Qian to come closer. It was rare for the two of them to have such a pleasant time together, and it made him have the urge to shorten 1 minute into 2 minutes. After about 40 minutes of climbing, Yi Qian, who was wearing a skirt, was so hot that her back was sweating. She picked up a fallen maple leaf from the bottom of a huge, towering rock to fan herself. Let's rest for a while. I'm all sweaty. These were Aunt Yangheng's clothes. She was planning to return them after washing them. She didn't want to get her sweat on them after wearing them once. She wouldn't be able to return them when the time came. Xia Jinyuan raised his head and looked at the rock. After circling around it, he put on his suit jacket and began to climb up the rock. When he reached the top, he lowered his head and looked at Yi Qian, who was still wiping her sweat and resting under the rock. Go up there and rest for a while. You can get some wind. When Yi Qian saw him climb up, she immediately went around and heard him say, "The place to enjoy the scenery of Mount Dalong is on this rock. Hurry up." There weren't many climbing points on the rock. It was high and steep, and one wouldn't dare to climb it if they didn't have the guts and skills. Yi Qian lowered her head and looked at what she was wearing today. She looked very ladylike, but none of the things she did had anything to do with being ladylike. Chapter 9:13. With a smile on her face, she walked towards Xia Jinyuan, who had already climbed up. He was at a high spot. She would climb up and enjoy the scenery with him. She had once said that she would use him and his troops as her goal. No matter when, as long as he reached out his hand, she would definitely walk towards him. The rock that no one had set foot on was not steep. Instead, it was flat enough for two people to sit side by side. There was also a backrest, which made it look like a natural stone chair. They could sit together and watch the clouds rise and the sun rise and set. This place is really good. If I hadn't climbed up, I wouldn't have been able to find it. Yi Qian took his outstretched hand and carefully stepped on the chair of the natural stone chair. Then she slowly bent down and sat down. You have a great view. You can enjoy the maple leaf scenery on this side of Mount Dao. Xiajing, shall we come again when the maple leaves turn yellow? Yi Qian, who had taken the initiative to suggest a next date, looked up. Although the scenery was good, she was still worried about him. Is this the time for our next date? Xia Jinyuan laughed heartily. He held her in his arms and let her head rest on his shoulder. He said softly, when the maple leaves turn yellow, I will definitely put on my military uniform and accompany you to see thousands of maple leaves. There were thousands of maple leaves on Mount Dao. When they were red, they were like clouds, and when they were yellow, they were like gold. When the weather was good, people from Southern Province City would come to see them and enjoy the beautiful scenery of all 4 seasons. Yi Qian gently closed her eyes and nodded. I have always believed in you, Xia Jinyuan. I have always believed in you. I have never disappointed you either, have I? It was like that in the past, and it will be like that in the future. His suit jacket covered their knees and let her head rest on his shoulder. This was the most peaceful and beautiful time for the two of them to be together. Even the indifferent little fox beside him took the initiative to approach him. Xia Jinyuan thought to himself, if the first time doesn't work, I have to at least try a few more times. Xia Jinyuan glanced at the bottom of the rock and saw a small, square and colorful aluminum foil bag. With his good eyesight, he took a casual glance and saw the English words on the aluminum foil bag clearly. Xia Jinyuan, who had originally planned to bring Yi Qian back to the hotel next time, wanted to get up and leave immediately after seeing an imported brand aluminum foil bag in a place like this. But the little fox seemed to like this place. Xia Jinyuan sighed softly and whispered, Let me tell you something. The story of Xia Yiwei and Hou Zi. Why are you suddenly talking about them? Yi Qian immediately raised her head and looked at him with a puzzled expression. She frowned and said, Did you discover something? His gun collection? Hou Zi brought us here to look at the goods. I'm guessing that he's starting to pull back. He kept hundreds of guns in his villa. These are direct evidence of his crimes. He started to destroy these things before marrying Xia Yiwei. Since she mentioned the gun collection, he decided to start from there. Xia Yiwei likes maple leaves very much. The second time she met Hou Zi was in Xiangshan. In order to take the most beautiful maple leaf scene, she was only 17 years old at the time and forced herself to a dead end. It was Hou Zi who risked his life to save her. This should be the place where the two of them watched the maple leaves together. Most people wouldn't notice. I think the two of us will have to choose a new place next time. Xia Jinyuan smiled faintly and pointed at the bottom of the rock. And this place is where the two of them do some private things. Why don't we go somewhere else now? Chapter 9:14. Yiqian wanted to ask how he knew this was the place where Xia Yiwei and the others were meeting, but when he saw Yiqian pointing at the bottom of the rock, he looked down. After he finished looking, Yiqian looked up and said seriously, "We should leave immediately. This is their bed. We're sitting on their bed." So, bold. They're doing intimate things on the rock. Aren't they afraid of falling? Aren't they afraid of being seen doing intimate things on the rock while admiring the beautiful scenery? Yiqian didn't even dare to think about it. He grabbed the rock with both hands and stood up. He showed his toughness from training and quickly flipped over the rock without Xia Jinyuan's help. Xia Jinyuan was too embarrassed to say anything when it came to this. He had never used condoms before. Yiqian didn't even need to say anything. He had never used condoms in his 2 lifetimes and had never even tried to understand them. Let's go to the main mountain path. The coordinates are clear, so G3 will be able to find us easily. Xia Jinyuan saw her awkward expression and laughed in his heart. He restrained his expression and said, "He should be here soon. We'll wait for him at the top of the mountain." If they met in a crowded place, they wouldn't attract attention even if they went down the mountain one after the other. There were metal fences on both sides of the private mountain path to prevent tourists from entering. After about 400 meters of the rock, they saw people guarding the end of the metal fences. When they saw the two of them, they immediately opened the fences. "Hello, Brother Xia. Z said that the car you want is parked in the villa's garage. You can go down and get the car keys from the security guard." The people guarding here were all Ho Zi's own people, so one could imagine how cautious he was. Xia Jinyuan nodded and thanked him. Then he held Yiqian's hand and walked towards the main mountain path. Ho Zi is invincible in southern province. You can see his personal ability from a small matter. I even asked you to cover for me, but he already guessed that my comrades would come to the scenic area. It's good that we're friends. If we're enemies, he's definitely a terrifying opponent. Ho Zi doesn't seem like a person who can't differentiate between good and evil. He should be a person who will kill anyone who stands in his way. I don't think he would casually make a move if you don't intentionally hinder him. Although he had only met Ho Zi twice, Yiqian's intuition told him that Ho Zi was a very principled person in the underworld. That was indeed the case. Otherwise, Xia Yiwei would not have been willing to give up the opportunity to return to the capital and choose to stay in the southern province after following him for 17 years. Walking to the main mountain road because it was Saturday afternoon, there were more tourists coming to the mountain to see the maple leaves. Tourists came and went everywhere. There were also couples holding hands, laughing as they climbed to the top of the mountain. "Let's hold hands too." Seeing the fourth couple pass by, Xia Jinyuan stretched out his hand and smiled at Yiqian. "Let's climb up together, shall we?" He only stretched out his hand, but he did not directly hold her hand. Yiqian's fingertips twitched slightly. Then she calmly stretched out her left hand and placed it in his slender and strong hand. She did not even look at Xia Jinyuan's expression and hurriedly looked up the mountain. "It will take more than an hour to climb up. Do you have time?" "Yes, we have a lot of time. An hour is also our time." She stretched out her hand and Xia Jinyuan immediately held it tightly. "We have a lot of time." This was the first time she held hands in public. It was also the first time she stood under the sun with a man. How did it feel? Chapter 9:15. It felt like the warm sun in winter, so warm that it chased away the cold. It felt like the morning breeze in spring, blowing away the dampness of the rainy season. It felt really good. "I'm Yiqian's boyfriend." "Yiqian, who are you to Xia Jinyuan?" He held her hand and interlocked his fingers with hers. His deep voice was filled with joy as he smiled and asked her, "Who are you to Xia Jinyuan?" Finally, he was able to hold her hand in public like an ordinary couple. They were able to walk hand in hand intimately, letting others know at a glance that they were a couple. Xia Jinyuan felt like he had walked halfway through a long journey and finally saw the light of dawn waiting for him. In the face of the insatiable man, Yi Jian glanced at him and said calmly, "Who can I be to you?" "Captain Xia, don't think too much. I just don't want people to keep looking at me from time to time. He lifted his chin slightly and looked up. He chuckled softly and said, I just don't want the people upstairs to keep looking at me. Am I thinking too much? It doesn't matter. We've already held hands. Are you afraid that I won't be able to win your heart? Xia Jinyuan smiled until his dark eyes sparkled. He looked up calmly and swept his gaze across the faces of the single men in front of him. The moment his gaze landed on them, his indifferent eyes turned cold and ruthless. He immediately retreated with his gaze and looked at the men of Yiqian repeatedly. Little Fox was dressed beautifully today. Even without her school uniform, she looked much more mature. Although she looked young and inexperienced, she had a calm temperament and did not look like a high school student. She looked more like a college student. She looked like a college student. Little girl, that's why she dared to hold hands with me. Yiqian watched as he used his gaze to scare away the men who kept looking at her. He lowered his head and pursed his lips into a smile. She could always see a different Xia Jinyuan, a real Xia Jinyuan. It still felt good. His palms were dry and his slender fingers could still wrap around her hands. This was a pair of hands meant to protect the country. At this moment, he was holding her tightly, as if he was afraid that she would pull away in the next second. Yiqian looked sideways at Xia Jinyuan, whose face was as perfect as a jade carving, and said softly, Let's be together after I finish my college entrance exams. How about that? Happiness came suddenly, but Xia Jinyuan's reaction was even faster. He even stopped walking and stared deeply at Yiqian. It's a promise. Can I go back on my word now? Looking at his happy face, Yiqian suddenly felt that she seemed to have agreed too quickly. So be it, he would always think of her. If love was the first thing that came to his mind, then she believed in him. She believed in love. She believed in a love that was so illusory that she had never thought of or embraced it. Xia Jinyuan raised his eyebrows. You dare? Why wouldn't I dare? I'm not a gentleman. Under the urging of the passers-by behind, Yiqian's eyes were filled with sweetness. He laughed and said, I'm going back on my word now. What can you do to me? What else could he do to her? That might not necessarily be the case. There were many ways to do so. Being able to stand side by side sweetly in action, this kind of love was too difficult to come by. He had thought of what he wanted to do to her 1,000,000 times in his heart. 1,000,000 times in his heart. Just thinking about it made his heart beat faster. Xia Jinyuan, whose smile was much more restrained, looked meaningfully at the smirking little fox. Later, he would find a deserted place and kiss her properly. Chapter 9:16. Previously in the hotel, she only touched him lightly. How was that enough? She couldn't do anything else, but kissing was still fine. A 17-year-old kiss was pure and innocent. Having her at the age of 17 was the luckiest thing for the 23-year-old Xia Jinyuan. Xia Jinyuan kept holding Yiqian's hand as he pondered. When they passed by a stone tablet with a simple mountaineering map, he glanced at it and saw a green path labeled Lover's Path. Lover's Path. It's time to walk it. They were still climbing the main path with stone stairs. One step after another was enough to make one's knees weak. Some elderly people who were tired would rest in the stone pavilions. Ho Zi had put in a lot of effort to develop this scenic area. No wonder so many elderly people came to climb on Saturdays. There were many elderly and middle-aged people. There are a lot of people up ahead. Let's go this way. After walking for about 100 meters, Xia Jinyuan held Yiqian's hand and entered a small path. He was so fast that Yiqian, who was focused on climbing, didn't see a wooden sign with the words, Lover's Path, on it. Lover's Path was a path for young people. It wasn't paved with stone slabs. It was a mountain path made by stepping on foot. If the trees on both sides were trimmed slightly, it would be a winding path suitable for lovers to climb. It's too steep here. Let's go out, okay? Aya, it's too hard. My feet hurt. A woman's coquettish voice came from up ahead. A man coaxed softly, it's not steep. It'll be fine after we get past here. How about I carry you? After the sweet conversation, a woman's soft voice came from behind. Yi Qian stopped in his tracks and whispered to Xia Jinyuan, "Let's go later. Don't disturb them. This is a lover's path. It's a path for lovers. We can do what lovers do and not disturb each other." Xia Jinyuan was a man who was good at seizing opportunities. When she stopped, he pulled her into his arms and said, "Let's do a lover's thing." He didn't give Yi Qian a chance to escape. His voice was low and seductive. "How was that enough for you at the hotel? You want to leave just because you've piqued my interest? Little fox, things aren't that simple. This road is fast. Don't think that it's very steep. It's straight and steep. It's not like the mountain road that goes up in circles. The last time we passed by, it was really fast." Someone was walking towards them, and it wasn't just one person. From the sound of the footsteps, there were at least 4 people. Yi Qian's body stiffened. He pushed against Yi Qian's chest and said, "Xia Jinun, let go of me. Someone's coming. Let go of me." Not only did he not let go, but he also hugged Yi Jian even tighter in his arms. However, he also knew that she was shy in this kind of thing, so he hugged her and hid behind a maple tree. He let her lean against the maple tree, and her back was also facing the 4 young people who were walking over. "What are you afraid of? They're all young people. They're all holding hands. This is a lover's path. Kissing and hugging are the most normal things to do." His voice was very low, as if he was enduring something. "Listen, someone's kissing right in front of us." Yi Qian wanted to slap herself. She must have been muddle-headed to agree to hold hands. Then, she made a mistake and promised to be together after the college entrance exam. One wrong step after another, and she ended up in Xia Jinyuan's hands. Chapter 9:17. Other people are other people. What does it have to do with us? Don't push your luck, Hugh. Xia Jinyuan blocked all her words. Looking at her gently moving red lips, his heart itched like a cat was scratching it. She even said to wait until after he kissed her. Be it a beast or a minor, a 17-year-old Yi Qian was an apple in the Garden of Eden. He wanted to eat her. No, he wanted to kiss her. He couldn't eat her now. If he really did, he would be a beast. After being teased by her a few times in the hotel, he couldn't hold back anymore. He held the back of her head with one hand and kissed her fiercely. Yi Qian was stunned by his fierceness. She made muffled sounds of resistance and felt a sense of danger. Yi Qian wouldn't let herself stay put. Her body began to struggle subconsciously, but the result of her struggling was that his arm around her slender waist tightened and the kiss deepened. Xia Jinyuan. His throat made a short, muffled sound. Yi Jian only felt that the tip of her tongue had been kissed by him until it was congested and numb. He was so strong and domineering, which made her panic all of a sudden. They kissed again. Xia Jinyuan, who was quick-witted and eager to learn, began to have a certain level of skill. He gently sucked on the tip of her tongue and slowly teased her lips with an irresistible gentleness. Yi Qian couldn't resist such a skillful kiss. She accidentally let out a mm. After the sound came out, she felt all the blood rush to her face. Her face was so red that it was burning. Xia Jinyuan chuckled. It seemed that he had improved again. Practice makes perfect. If he was given more opportunities, he would definitely improve his professional skills. Look, who would notice us, silly? No one would come to watch us. Just like how when we find people kissing, we would be kind and try not to disturb them. Let's walk over quickly. His voice became more mellow and hoarse. The ambiguity in his tone became more obvious. How is it? Did I improve? Yi Qian closed her eyes. That voice just now made her shy to speak. That voice was very unfamiliar to her. It didn't sound like her voice at all. It was delicate and soft as if water could drip from it. Yet it was his own voice. She kept her eyes closed. She was so shy that even her eyelashes were trembling slightly. Xia Jinyuan couldn't help but lower his head and place a gentle kiss on the lips. How can you be so shy? We are lovers, we will have intimate contact. What we do is a normal process for a man and a woman. Little fox, are you shy? Or are you resisting? Why don't we give it another try? He lowered his head as he spoke, and his hot breath blew on her face. Yiqian was so shocked that she quickly opened her eyes. However, she didn't look at him first. Instead, she looked around guiltily. Then, she gritted her teeth and said, "Xia Jinyuan, do you want to see how old the girls kissing are? I'm still young. How dare you kiss in public? Aren't you afraid of being discovered? Also, your identity. Oh, so she wasn't resisting. She just couldn't kiss in public." Xia Jinyuan had an epiphany. He smiled and said, "Well, let's find a place where there is no one around next time. A place where no one will see or discover us. For example, in a room. What do you think?" Chapter 9:18. You're not even qualified to be a Special Forces soldier. How on earth did you pass the test of lust? Yiqian, who had gone from blushing to gritting his teeth, glared at him with a harmless gaze. It's obvious that you can't pass the test of lust. They had all undergone special training in this area. The male Special Forces soldiers had undergone a series of brutal physical and psychological training to ensure that lust had no effect on them when they were held captive. With the crisis averted, Yiqian regained his sharpness. "Look at you, you're always thinking about such nonsense. Your special training was all for nothing. When the time comes and a prettier woman stands in front of you, won't you just surrender?" This was an interesting topic, and it was also a question that had puzzled him for a long time. They had indeed undergone special training in lust. They were so strong-willed that they had no interest in such things. In the words of the G3, the Snowfield Brigade soldiers were all vegetarians. But Yi Qian's willpower was as weak as a piece of paper, easily broken with a poke. For this operation, they had appeared in the black market as illegal mercenaries. The naked women in the black market had walked past him one by one. The wine he wanted had been pushed to a black mercenary. He had no interest in it at all. There was nothing wrong with his willpower. Women's charms had no effect on him, except for Yi Jian and the shy little fox in his arms who looked like a peach blossom. He was certain that as long as the person in his arms was her, his breathing, heartbeat, brain reaction, and thoughts would all be affected. Especially when they were alone, he would want to do something naughty. After he was done, he felt so good that it was as if he had slept for 3 days and 3 nights. He was so energetic that he could crawl 2 kilometers with 20 kilograms of weight on his back. "I definitely won't surrender. I've already encountered what you're talking about 10 days ago. I didn't act on impulse at all, so don't worry, I'm fine. I won't embarrass my little fox when I walk out of here." He used the tip of his handsome nose to touch Yi Qian's slightly wrinkled nose. He smiled faintly and looked at her with eyes as gentle as water. The faint fragrance of her body lingered at the tip of his nose, allowing him to peacefully enjoy this brief moment of peace. He had already met her 10 days ago. Had he met a great beauty? Yiqian turned his head away and harumphed, "You think you're reassuring? I really don't feel at ease. Do you still want to go to the mountaintop? If G3 doesn't see you when they come over later, they'll write, 'delayed military intelligence,' in their report, and you'll be in for it. Don't worry. I don't have any feelings for other women, except for you. However, we really need to leave quickly. He's probably already in the scenic area." Xia Jinyuan seemed to know that she would be angry because of what he said. After finishing the first half of the sentence, Xia Jinyuan immediately talked about the serious matter in the second half of the sentence. He successfully stopped Yi Jian from punching him again. However, the corners of his mouth curled up subconsciously. There was a hint of complacency and pride. She believed him when he said he wasn't interested in other women. They kissed and opened their hearts to each other. One promised to wear the military uniform when he came back, and the other promised to be together after the college entrance examination. Although it was only a few hours of interaction, they had gained a lot. Welcome to Immortal Cultivation audiobooks, your gateway to the mystical world of Xianxia. Dive into legendary tales of martial arts, spiritual growth, and immortal ascension. Here, we bring you full-length English audiobooks of the best Wuxia and Xianxia stories, From young prodigies to ancient sect wars. Perfect for fans of Against the Gods, Martial World, and tales of demons and gods.